Right. Hello, welcome back. I would like to share with you today something that I feel is very important for a lot of you, and it will relieve a lot of you in terms of freeing you, mainly from other people's opinions, right? And this is my suggestion for today is for you that you allow yourself not to be dependent on feedback from others. We often get this programming, and we're often being told that you need to be able to take criticism. You know, only that way you can learn, and only that way you can develop and grow. And you need to be able to take feedback. And if not, then there's something wrong with you, or you're too closed off and too much in your own world if you can't take feedback, right? Now, I want to suggest to you today that you do not take feedback and you do not listen to criticism. And I'm going to tell you why I want to say that. Because what I realize more and more, especially now as well, for example, in this digital space, right? When you make videos, people leave their comments, and they leave their comments in the feeling that I am anonymous, I can say what I want, and I want to really implicitly, I want to form the other person to my liking. So if they say something or they portray some image of them that I don't like, I'm going to tell them expecting or wishing that they would change that so that I'm pleased. Right? So oftentimes the feedback we're getting, and not just there, it is in families, it is in the job, with colleagues, with coworkers, with team leaders, bosses, it doesn't matter. In any circumstance, even with friends, the feedback that we're getting or the response that we're getting from people is nothing more than an opinion, because very few people have actually learned how to give proper feedback. And by proper feedback, I mean non-judgmental, not mixed up with it being an opinion, not mixed up with any personal agenda that that person has, but simply with the intention and the message of a constructive, progressive input on somebody's statement, work on somebody. And that rarely happens. I mean, if you think of how often do you meet someone who genuinely gives you feedback that is like that doesn't have their own, the taint, or is not tainted by their own opinions, how they would like it to be, how they think you should do it, and not because it is better for you to do it that way, but because it is what they want. It is to their liking. It would be more to their liking. But that's not constructive feedback. And so most of the time, the feedback we're getting is actually just criticism, and it is not helpful. It is judgment. It is most often destructive, actually, and devaluing. And we need to be very clear that we don't allow this. And it's not that we don't allow the other person to voice their stuff, but they don't have to voice it to us. And if we cannot stop them voicing it to us, we can definitely choose to take it on or not. Now we can say, thank you for sharing your opinion. I'm going to do it my way. Or I disagree. I like the way I do it. Yeah. And you allow the person to have their opinion, and you are very clear this is their opinion. This is not some higher being coming to you with wonderful, loving wisdom trying to improve you. Because most people don't want that. They want their needs met, and they want their clever opinions to be heard and shared. So we really, really, really need to become clear. And even it's the same, like we're programmed so much like that. And it happens mainly as well through this whole school and this grading and this judging and this feedback. And like how many people I have listened to who devalued themselves through statements their teachers made to them about them that were so untrue, but they were destructive. Those statements, they were criticizing, they were devaluing, they crushed people. These statements of teachers crushed people, little humans, so that they started to think this is the feedback of the world, of somebody who should know, so it must be true. And they started to believe it. Most feedback is something you do not have to listen to. So come up to your own higher self, to your own higher level, to your own wisdom, and give yourself the feedback you need. And by that, I don't mean the ego feedback, right? It has to be very clear that step back and look at it from a neutral standpoint. And from that perspective, you will also be able to determine whether somebody's response or somebody's feedback is actually meant in a very positive, loving way. They may not agree with something, or they may have suggestions to change something, whatever it is, but you might then feel, oh, this is done in a way not so that I please them, but they genuinely think it would improve what I've just done, and I can see how this has value, what the person just said. And it's not meant to boost their ego and put me down. So really be clear on whose feedback you take and whose you don't, because it's just an opinion, it's just a criticism, and it is of no value whatsoever. And you don't have to judge them back for being judgmental, because that's what most humans do. They judge because they're in the ego state. So recognize where they come from, then know that this is possibly not what you want to hear. You don't want to hear their ego perspective. You want their wisdom. And if they cannot offer that because they're in their ego state, then just acknowledge that. It's not their fault. They're in their ego state. Thank you, and move on. Okay? I hope this was helpful. I'm going to love you and leave you, and we'll talk again next time.